Jack.
Levi.
The Book Club from Hell.
Hello everyone, this is Jack with the Book Club from Hell, and I'm a human tuning fork, corrupting the being of those around me by sounding a demonic A440. When playing music together, it's useful to specify what a particular note sounds like for the purposes of tuning. At the moment, it is conventional to tune the A above middle C to 440 Hz. Why is this the case? L.C. Vincent, in his book The 440 Enigma, seeks to answer this question. Turns out, it has a lot to do with Goebbels, moneyed interests, the forces of chaos, an extremely wealthy American dynasty, and sacred numerology. If you like what we're doing with this podcast and want to support us, we have a Patreon account, the link to which is in the show notes. We release bonus episodes on Patreon and have weekly chats with our subscribers about our most recent episodes. I've also published a novel called Tower if you're interested in hearing more from me, and finally, we have a Discord server for this podcast on which you can find Levi, me, and plenty of other friendly listeners who enjoy the Book Club from Hell, the link to which is also in the show notes. So, if you want to hear about why country music is a conspiracy cooked up by the Frankfurt School to corrupt the American working man, then listen on. Enjoy.
It's been a while since we've done a book that is just frankly psychotic. just the product of an overactive imagination, perhaps to a pathological degree.
Yeah.
We've been trying to do books that, even if they're fundamentally silly, at least are making an attempt at building some sort of system that can be interesting to talk about, whereas this is pure frivolity.
He's very serious.
Oh, he's very serious. I'm not denying that the
observer.
intent behind it is serious. It's just the product is a bit hard to take seriously.
Yeah. So we thought we're thinking through some of the hooks, and the one that I came up with, that we came up with together, was like something along the lines of: imagine if Don Paris PhD had a love child with Wiley Brooks, the now leader of the Breatharian Institute of America.
Or the former or current is difficult with Wiley Brooks, given that he did reincarnate in the body of that guy, I forget his name, who recorded a bunch of really long YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Talking directly at the camera in his backyard in Arizona.
That guy. Yeah, whatever that guy's name is. Wiley Brooks' protege. So imagine if Don Paris PhD and Wiley Brooks' protege had a child and then sent that child off to study music theory and classical piano for years. And then that child eventually had their own magical thinking adventures in imaginary wonderland. That is what that is who produced the A44. No, what's it called? The 440 Enigma.
Yeah, by L.C. Vincent. But importantly, with this love child that we're talking about, while they were studying music theory intensely, they also came to understand that all of the world's problems really could be traced back to one family's activities, or at least the modern world's problems. The problems in the world post-1910 in particular.
One man picked out for his talent for tuning instruments by this one nefarious family.
Yeah,
we won't
so it's
we won't give it away.
We'll keep the listener in suspense as to which particular family it is this time.
But you can start guessing which family it might be.
Yeah, there are a small number of them.
We all know.
A small number of them
usual
who
suspects.
Every ill in human history.
Yeah, the usual suspects of 19th and 20th century aristocratic families, up to no good as usual, such as deharmonizing the human species. Sowing discord amongst the peoples of Earth.
Exactly.
A cacophony of pure evil and chaos.
I was disappointed that L.C. Vincent didn't use more musical puns in this book, because he strikes me as exactly the sort of author who would and really should.
Yeah.
But he just didn't pull out the musical puns. He did talk about cacophonies. a number of times, but just not. The density of puns wasn't quite what I wanted. It's one of my criticisms of this work. One of the ways in which it could be improved. Maybe the second edition.
I feel like there was a real lack of resolution to the.
It didn't resonate
because of that lack
with
of
me in the way it could have.
Yeah, I'm having.
He
fun.
does talk about resonance a lot, but that's not really in a punning way. It's in a woo-woo way. So maybe a secondary hook for this book is that this is basically woo-woo conspiracy. So the first
music theory.
Yeah, the structure of this book is very special because the first roughly half of the book, a little under half, is basically woo-woo music. Like, very woo-woo. We'll go over it. This will be more the structure of our old episodes where we just talk through each section of the book because it's pretty hard to synthesize a coherent worldview and then ask specific questions about it and use it to
we tried
and discuss other things. We tried to think of things to talk about, but this book is too magical to do that with. So this will be a throwback to the old days.
Keep it simple. We're going back to basics here. We've had too much recently.
I'll try to destroy the audio quality in editing this one to give it that 2022.
Well, at least the
era
internet's
Jack and
dropping
Levi
out,
feel.
so that's reminiscent of days
yeah.
gone
So
by.
the first half is very woo woo, and then on at least on the ebook version from Amazon, which I think both of us read, that might be the only place you can find this anyway. It's on page 28.
You can get on Kindle Unlimited for free.
Oh, yeah. Well, I paid him $7 Australian because this is a good effort. I actually did enjoy this book. I had a really fun evening. But it was definitely worth $7. But page 28, it goes from being fairly innocuous woo-woo. You could play woo-woo bingo with this very easily. There's misunderstanding of quantum mechanics, which is obligatory. There's water retaining memories, which is a very common one. Vibration is the organizational principle of all matter.
Oh my god, why do
a lot of
people
vibrations
like vibrations so much? Like, what is it about vibrations?
Most of the
Can't get
time,
enough of it.
he does something which does shit me, where he talks a lot about vibrations as if they're medium independent. Like,
Yeah,
as
just
if,
like
as if
Don
the
Parrish
medium which is
PhD,
vibrating is not important. It's just the vibration that's important.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
more that's more like little things that annoy me specifically. But
Again,
every
Don
now and then
Parrish
he
did
actually
that.
does acknowledge that a vibration is an object vibrating, so that is good.
What's her name who wrote The Secret? She does that as well. I think it's very
Rhonda
common
Byrne.
for the woo-woo types to just ignore and just feels like a vibration is somehow like an independent phenomena.
Yeah.
It's just
He's
vibration as
He's
such.
got the syncretism of a lot of woo-woo in that he's talking about God, like when God created the universe, he said, "Let there be light," and light is a vibration. So the Bible really grokked that everything is a vibration.
And he does that.
And
he does
therefore
that
the Bible
wonderful,
is a theological justification for manifesting, for just wishing really hard for something. Which
He does-
I always find it really funny when they'll just reach for an established religious tradition and go, you know what, fuck everything in this tradition except for these like handful of things that I've decided are important. I'm just going to take those and use them to justify whatever I want, just anything.
He also does the old Jordan Peterson weird emphasis on pulling apart a word and then like yeah, you see how like this particular word, you know, like if you're informed, then you're information, and then information
yeah,
you
he
get
did that a few
more
times. It was
informed
very
about
good.
things. He did that with like universes. Like
did that a lot.
Uni one verse song. The universe is a song. Songs are vibrations. They go. Don't you know the universe is a vibration? A good vibration, man.
So yeah, the first half is a lot of woo-woo and mostly innocuous. Every now and then you get hints of darkness, like in the introduction, which I will read. A lot of my notes for this book are just me copying sections of text because I can't present L.C. Vincent as well as L.C. Vincent presents L.C. Vincent, so I will be quoting a lot. But for the most part, there's not many hints of darkness. There's just a foreshadowing of something going wrong. But then on page 28, he goes from 0 to 100 in half a second. He just goes completely off the deep end. And we'll get to that bit when we get to it.
Luckily, he does signpost it
really
very
good.
well. So if you want to read the book, we can tell you exactly which page to skip to, which subsection to skip to.
It's extremely repetitive. There is, like Levi said, there's basically a page or two where he just summarizes the entire woo-woo bit, which is good because that's the most boring bit. You can skip the woo-woo and get straight on to the wacky conspiracy theories. I think where he peaked is when he's talking about country music. I did not see that coming. I truly was surprised by his thoughts on country music specifically. Just because this is a fairly recent book. This was published in 2012. So in complaining about popular music, I was expecting him at least to complain about rap. Because that's a way more common thing to complain about. Like rap, hip-hop culture, etc., etc. But no, it's country music he has a real problem with. And the problem is not merely aesthetic. It's a spiritual problem with country music. Which I don't want to give too much away. I just want to say that the Frankfurt School, specifically Adorno, was very important in concocting country music and then inflicting it upon America. So in woo-woo books, mostly they're all the same. In this, the country and western part is truly innovative, truly unprecedented. I truly didn't see it coming. I also want to shout out Emily on our Discord who recommended this book after I said that I'd met some people who are musicians. It's particularly classical musicians who get very, very wound up about how you tune the A above middle C. So it's very normal to tune it to 440 hertz, hence A440. That's what it means. You meet plenty who say that A tuned to 432 hertz is superior. It has a warmer, richer sound. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to really have a strong preference either way, but people do have strong feelings about it, and I mentioned this. And so from the Discord, Emily sent this book and basically said no one cares as much about it as L.C. Vincent.
That's extremely impressive, Emily. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this was an incredible find.
That's really weirdly impressive. That she was
I don't know how I would have found this.
Such a specific recommendation in response to that stimulus. That's crazy. That's really strange. Is this book known amongst musicians, classically trained musicians or something, or is it just she's just a weirdo?
I don't know. I should probably ask Emily
how she came across this.
Where this book came from.
Turns out it's actually L.C. Vincent doing guerrilla marketing.
I mean, it worked. The front cover of this book is pretty special. Now, let me pull it up so I can paint a picture with words. Everyone has some sort of device close at hand. It's worth searching the 440 Enigma, the 440 Enigma, the musical conspiracy to separate mankind from the divine by L.C. Vincent on your search engine of choice, because the front cover sells really the book.
Good. Yeah.
It's got a really sort of 1999 vibe, if I'm being generous. What's it got? It's got a lightning bolt. The 440 Enigma is written. Each word is in a different font. It's got musical notations, either a sine or a cosine wave. It's got an X-ray skull. It's got a swastika. It's got a tuning fork. It's got L.C. Vincent written in another font. It's just got a lot. It's very blue as well.
It's got a kind of a Goosebumps vibe going on. Kind of Goosebumps mixed with, I don't know, like Degrassi or something.
clip art.
Yeah. I imagine that if you were able to get a print copy of it, it would come with one of those those 3D stickers of like dolphins and stuff.
The holographic
stickers. Yeah, I imagine it'd be like that.
Yeah. I hope it's shiny in real life. If you have the physical edition, better be
like
shiny.
one of the like the Yu-Gi-Oh cards, like the blue white dragon. Did you ever see those? They were like glossy.
No, it was
like
Pokemon
metallic
cards. It would be good.
They had similar ones in Pokemon.
Kids would kick each other in the head over a shiny Venusaur, trying to steal them from each other.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah. Blue Eyes White Dragon. Yeah, great card. Shout out to Yu-Gi-Oh.
So, how about with that out of the way? Is there more background we need to give to this book? Because I think
there's not.
Talk about this book.
I guess
that's all we can do to it.
Let's talk about it a little bit. Could you explain? I know you're not an expert, but Jack used to. Oh, and Jack, you still play instruments, but you originally played classical cello, right? So you know a little bit more about this than me. I don't know anything about music theory. Can you just explain, basically, what it means A440 and yeah,
sure. So you need to tune instruments so that they can play with each other. Like if you're just playing by yourself, I can't take it. So if you're playing by yourself, so I know stringed instruments. I don't get other types of instruments. So on a cello, there are 4 strings. If you're just playing by yourself and you don't have the mental illness of perfect pitch, you can just tune each of the 4 strings on a cello to themselves. So just make sure that each string is a perfect fifth of different pitch from each other. And everything will sound good. You don't have to worry. It's when you play with another person that you need to make sure that each instrument is in tune with themselves and with each other. And if you're just playing with one other person, you can just play an open string to the other person and say, okay, tune your instrument so that it makes the same pitch on the same string as this, and then tune it. That's fine. And that's what people tend to do most of the time. But say if you're playing in an orchestra, it's a lot easier if you can just play one note and everyone in the orchestra tunes to that, instead of each person individually trying to tune with the person next to them. And
can you imagine a combinatorial explosion?
It's like gradient descent of people tuning their instruments. Eventually, you're going to converge. It's just how long is that process
going to take? 1 million years for an orchestra of 300 different players.
Yeah, for a Wagnerian orchestra. Just give me a sec. I got to tune the cannons.
It's like the Vienna Symphony Orchestra hasn't played in 6,000 years because they're still tuning their instruments.
Yeah. And so this is fine for, say, stringed instruments where you can tune them really, really easily. For something like a piano or other tuned percussion, it's a lot harder to tune them. So it really helps. It makes your life so much easier if you have just some standardized pitch. You can say, okay, this is what A sounds like. This is what the A above middle C sounds like. And I don't understand the history behind the convention, which is why I read the 440 Enigma by L.C. Vincent. And I did learn how the convention arose. But
yeah, nice.
Conventionally, at least in Australia, A above middle C is tuned to 440 hertz. That's just what it is.
Oh, it's Australia being corrupted as well.
Australia's been corrupted.
Damn.
And you do have people, particularly I find it's classical musicians, really care, or some of them really care about what A is tuned to. And so 432 hertz is a common one that people who don't like 440 say is better.
A warmer, richer sound, if you ask me.
That's those are the buzzwords I've learned to imitate. I don't give a shit. I'm just too much of a caveman.
Although 440 might be slightly brighter, it's also significantly more demonic.
Yeah, I find all of the advantages of the brightness are offset by the severance of access to the divine that listening to anything tuned to A440 leads to.
Yeah.
And I'm not being hyperbolic. We can demonstrate spiritually and mathematically that it is demonic. I mean, is 440 cleanly divisible by 3? I just want to posit that to you. We'll explain the specific mechanics of this. It is divisible by 2, but not by 3.
432 is in fact synchronous with the Trinity, the Holy Trinity.
We don't worry. We're going to get into why this is important. That was one of my favorite arguments in this book. Listeners, you don't know what you're in for. Okay. So yeah. Basically, people like having a standard pitch you can tune instruments to. That's all the A440 thing is. Just a standard pitch to tune instruments to. That's it. Of secondary importance in this book, although this is something that classical musicians in particular also get wound up about, is equal temperament. So you can tune instruments in different ways. And I know less about this because just on a cello, for example, or any stringed instrument without frets, equal temperament versus mean tone is just less important, because when you're playing in a group, you can alter the pitch, and you do it intuitively to be in tune with everyone else. And so this thing's less important, but it's basically a way of, say, on a piano, when you tune a piano, or more likely when it is tuned for you.
Or if you tune a guitar, because it's fretted string.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, like where the frets are put on the guitar. Equal temperament is basically where the perfect fifths are like pure fifths, that they're the same. You're not changing the difference in the intervals of the fifths. Like it's just fifths stacked up on top of each other. Like it's just even. And some people say that it just sounds like the instruments are out of tune when you have a large group playing all in equal temperament. And so they prefer mean tone, which I don't really understand. But I don't think the fifths with the mean tone tuning are pure. Like there are actually differences in intonation between the fifths stacked up in tuning according to mean tone.
Yeah. I wonder now that
naturally L.C. Vincent likes mean tone. He doesn't like equal temperament and A440 because he's not merely a contrarian, but he's spiritually attuned to the deficits of both of those systems.
I now that I think about it, I wonder if if the guitars, do they kind of assume that you're going to be using a particular frequency for your tuning? Because if you were to tune your guitar to like 440 or 432 or 428, wouldn't that mean that like the fret placements would actually be different? So like you should actually modify.
No, it's like, because if you just tune the strings and they're in tune with each other, or you can use alternate tunings as well.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Like they're going to be relative to each other the same, I guess. So certain people like to have multi-scale guitars where the frets are like have this wave pattern to them.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And so each string actually has a different scale length, and some people say it has a nicer intonation.
I just noticed that a lot of guitars don't like actually they lose the precision on the higher, like the frets closer to the body of the guitar. And obviously the guitar necks can become curved and stuff. That's going to mess with it. But I also wonder if there's like an element of you're assuming a certain like tuning when you actually place those frets, especially if they're like perfect line instead of being waved frets. Anyways,
I think that's my problem with equal temperament in that
true.
The intonation of notes really, really high up, like fret 20 plus.
Yeah.
Say if you're doing that on the top E string, are going to sound a little out of tune compared to the same notes on the bottom E string.
Unless it's like a really good guitar. Like it's like the fucking top frets are always, especially on like the top E and top A, like just like messed.
They can sound a little funny because of equal temperament,
Yeah.
because of how the frets are placed.
Yeah.
How they're maintaining perfect fifths the whole way up the scale, which can make, if you have notes that are far enough apart, those notes sound out of tune
Yeah.
with each other.
Well, I've just decided that the next time I buy like a Les Paul or something, I'm going to like email the company and like demand them, explain to them the importance of not having A440 tuning. And that I will be using
they'll probably just send you a tuner in response and say, tune your guitar however you want.
I don't want any of this. I don't understand any of this stuff, but I'm just going to like basically reference this book as well in my request for a guitar. Make it conform to LC Vincent
The difference
standards.
between the two is A440 versus just whatever you want is that you can change that on a guitar. It is just a matter of changing the tuning of
I want a guitar that can only be tuned to A432. There isn't any other options, Jack. Anyways,
how about this? How about I quote from the introduction of this book so that we can set the stakes? Because listeners might think that we're just not talking about anything important, but let me establish the stakes here by quoting from the beginning of the book. A seemingly innocuous decision, one apparently made for the good of humanity in the best of intentions, the establishment of a musical tuning standard for all Western musical instruments and orchestras, may harbour a secret agenda whose ramifications are so vast and far-reaching in their evil complexity that it is scarcely possible to comprehend their scope. An agenda that has been ages in the making may have reached fruition in the beginnings of our last century, culminating in the murders of millions of human beings in 2 world wars, while contributing to constant conflicts since that time. The selection of this one simple tuning frequency standard for musicians, instruments, and orchestras over another may have had the subtle power to sow discord, suspicion, envy, disharmony, enmity, and distrust among a significant majority of this planet's population. And it all may have started with the most simple, elemental aspect of creation: vibration. Yet why should one frequency keynote be any better or worse than another? For the answer to this question, we must go back into the very mists of time and then fast forward to the scientific discoveries of today to find our answer. For this is the story of how and why the specific frequency of A equals 440 Hz or 440 cycles above middle C was chosen as the standard tuning frequency for orchestras, musicians, and instruments in the Western world, becoming the de facto vibrational musical tuning standard since 1910. It is also the story of who chose this standard for us and why.
Who?
There we go. We have set the scene. I reckon we should spend less time on the woo-woo theory behind it. We get through this fairly quickly because I want to focus on the conspiracy half of the book, which is the really fun bit of the book. I would like to make a few notes, though, about the narrative structure of the book, which I did really enjoy. I don't know how intentional it was, but it's very effective. So, like we've already said, the book is roughly split into 2 parts. First is woo-woo theory, second is conspiracy theories. As the book goes on, the spelling, punctuation, and formatting get weirder and weirder. And particularly in the conspiracy part of the book, they get weirder very rapidly. And it's very effective in that it makes you feel like you're going insane. When he starts misspelling things more frequently, when the sudden all caps start appearing more frequently, when he just makes weird proper nouns, is also like he just capitalizes the first letter of certain words. I can't really pick why, but he just does. That's good. And the illustrations are very important too. The pictures put into the text get more frequent and more mystifying. So there's one in particular that I call it in my notes Fireball Man. It just looks like he screenshotted some
like a mage
some kind of
from D&D.
shit no-name tabletop RPG rulebook
Yeah.
of some wizard casting a fireball. And he's just put it in his book. Hasn't credited it because I would be surprised if he made all of the images in this book himself.
There's no way he did.
There's no way he did. He's just stealing people's artwork.
Yeah.
There's one section where he's just got this tiny little picture of the face of one of, I don't want to give away the family, but a member of
the family,
a very malicious family, just put into the text. But maybe it was just the formatting of my computer was being weird, but the formatting was all fucked up as well. So it was just this little floating head kind of in the middle of nowhere with all of the text messing up around it. It's a very special.
That was on my Kindle
type
as
of
well.
formatting.
Yeah, all that like disjointed formatting. Yeah, either did it intentionally or he just didn't know how to format it for Kindle.
I like to think that he did it intentionally, and he intentionally made stranger and stranger formatting decisions as the book went on to mirror both the narrative descent into insanity, but also the reader's descent into insanity as they travel through the L.C. Vincent verse. Yeah, it was the way in which this book is formatted is inspired. I feel it really contributed to the atmosphere of this book. You see, I'm not a stickler for people necessarily having perfect spelling, having very clean formatting and punctuation. It just needs to serve a purpose. And in this book, the progressive degradation of observing any sort of accepted standards of formatting and punctuation is in service to the feeling of the declining mental state of the author. It's really good. Intentional or not, I really, really enjoyed it. So, one thing we've got to understand, and from reading woo-woo books, I feel like we understand this pretty well, but other people might not, is that everything is a vibration. What is vibrating? Doesn't matter. Everything is a vibration. The thing that is vibrating is itself a vibration. That's what you've got to understand. All things are vibrating vibrations, which are themselves vibrations of vibrations. The medium is a vibration, which itself is vibrating.
Yo, dog, I vibrated your vibrator so that you can vibrate while you're vibrating.
Exactly. That's the woo-woo interpretation of Pimp My Ride, the seminal MTV TV series from, I don't know, when, the 90s or something.
Yeah.
What is important to note is that lower frequencies are perceived by humans as sound, higher frequencies as color. And when God created the universe, he said, "Let there be light." That classic line from Genesis. And light
I don't
is
know if you
nothing
guys
but a
have heard of
vibration.
it.
Yeah.
But it's pretty,
he might have heard of it.
Pretty important book.
It's an obscure text.
See if it's at your local library. So, but of course.
Oh, yeah, wait. Woo-woo we should codify woo-woo bingo at some point, but this is definitely woo-woo bingo, this quote. As physicists have known for centuries, all creation is based upon vibration. All light, heat, sound, and even solid matter is composed of the vibration of atoms at different frequencies. That's, if you ask any physicist today, they're going to tell you the same thing. Everything is just atoms vibrating. That is definitely the current understanding of the physical world.
Just some things doing a little shimmy down there at the subatomic level. All tiny things vibrating. What's vibrating? Just vibrations.
Yeah, exactly. It's the recursion to infinity of vibration. So woo-woo bingo would do very well in this book, especially in the first half. I just don't know what it is about woo-woo people and physics. They love the prestige of physics. Physics as a legitimizing factor.
They
don't really seem to like the
reinforce their narrative.
Yeah,
They've already decided on. They really dislike the past, which don't really reinforce their narrative.
So there's when he talks about stepping back into the mists of time, he is serious. He starts this out in the beginning. He says humans discovered fire. What is fire? Well, it's a vibration, which I guess it's trivially true, having already established that literally everything is a vibration. Establishing that fire is itself also a vibration is actually fairly unremarkable. True. But it is true. It is still true.
It was a
fire
salient type
is
of vibration.
a subset of everything. If you consider literally everything, then
it's an
fire is contained within that
everything.
set. So anyway, you're already beginning to see how important vibrations are. Vibrations are literally everything. But humans actually, no, now that I'm saying it out loud, it kind of undercuts the importance of his argument, because he's saying fire is so important in large part because it's a vibration. And it's where humans come into contact with vibrations. But if literally everything is a vibration, then it's not particularly exciting. I'd say fire is exciting for other reasons, because of heat and warmth and things, but not because it's a vibration, but because
everything's vibration.
As we've already established, literally everything is a vibration.
Waves are a vibration.
Yeah.
Clouds are a vibration. Stones are a vibration.
When I first read this, the first time I read this, it was a revelation that fire is a vibration and that we harness this vibration. But now that I've come back to it in the cold light of day, if everything's a vibration, then it's just not that special, is it? If literally all of existence is a vibration, then fire also being a vibration is just completely pedestrian.
Is there anything about this particular vibration that might have set it apart for early humans?
Well, it did stimulate our first intellectual crisis. It's good that you asked that, Levi. It, I quote, provoked the first reflective, analytical, contemplative thought from Earth's primitive progeny. Now, how did it do this? You like looking at fire, don't you? It's nice to look at a campfire.
Yeah, it's like TV for camping.
Yeah. So that's basically what it was for these.
It was the first form of dopamine addiction. Programming man was like trying to have a dopamine detox. It was like, can't have fire anymore.
You had the patriarch Grog complaining about his son Grug, who wasn't interested in throwing spears at animals anymore. He and the rest of his fallen generation just start fires everywhere and stare at the fires. There's no sense of community anymore. Everyone's so atomized. They've all got their fires. They're staring at their fires all day. They're not just talking to each other like we did.
All Krug does is fucking jerk off and start fires all day.
Jerking off while staring at the fire.
He's in the actual cave in his little corner, the goon cave, starting fires and jacking off. You know what? That's probably
There's
human
something
universal.
very platonic about this.
There's that really hasn't changed in 200,000 years. Teenage Homo sapiens are still crawling into a corner and jacking off, starting fires.
Yeah. I should note that all of these things are things that we've really derived from the text. None of this is specifically in the text. These are more than the natural consequences of considering what L.C. Vincent has said. So one thing that fire also did is it allowed a social locus. So you had the campfire, you had
circle jerking, in other words.
Yeah. You had all the entire tribe just masturbating around the campfire, talking, cooking food. And when they were around here, what did they do? What did they naturally start to do? And I want to quote from the text so that listeners can think to themselves logically. When everyone's sitting around the campfire, what do they start to do? So I quote, "The universe or one uni song verse has been considered by philosophers of all ages as being in harmonic,
Including
resonant,
Jordan Peterson.
sympathetic vibration with every aspect of creation. Nothing in this universe can exist outside of this all-encompassing vibration, which might even be thought of as the true quantum field.
Oh, shit. It's the quantum field, bro.
This is why you
jerking
read
off
woo-woo.
into the quantum field.
So they've got this quantum field, and what do you naturally do when you're beholding the true quantum field? You start to make music, don't you? Because you're a vibration looking at this fire vibration, just vibrating with all your buddies, vibrating your hand on your erect penis. And what do you naturally do? Well, you make music. You make more vibrations, don't you? Because everything's vibration. So they started making music in their campfire circle, and that started civilization. That literally started civilization.
Bam, civilization. You just got a bunch of like funky Cro-Magnon man vibrating and spontaneously
vibrating with each
generating
other.
music while I was jerking off together around the fire. And next thing you know, Roman Empire.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how that is actually.
That's actually how
Romulus and Remus, as
were.
we know, is just a myth that never happened.
Yes.
What actually happened was the vibrating campfire. This is the vibrating campfire hypothesis for how the
Really,
Romans
Romulus
began.
and Remus and Cain and Abel and all other progenitor stories of the earliest families of man are actually just social memories, cultural memories of the deeper collective subconscious of the original vibration.
Archetypal
jerk-off.
Memories
Archetypal
of
memories.
when
Vibrational
people started banging
jerking-
rocks together
jerk-off
and
session.
playing bone flutes around the fire.
And little flutes made out of grass reeds. Little sticks.
Yeah, they're just sitting around playing the kazoo around the campfire.
And for some reason, they also have like a piece of metal, and they're doing that like weird wobbly thing we can do with metal.
Oh, that wobble
the
board
wobble
thing.
board, or like a wobble board. I imagine they've got. I reckon LC Vincent would be a massive fan of wobble boards.
Oh, he is. He's probably the world's greatest virtuoso on that wobble board thing.
And what are those things like? You know, there's that special type of synth where you can like move your hand. It sort of like detects. I don't know.
Oh,
it's like, I don't know
yeah,
what it's
that
called.
one. That is exactly the sort of instrument he would be
Yeah,
into.
he'd be super into all that, all that sort of weirdo
Anyway.
instruments.
Anyway, you've got a campfire, you've got people sitting around a campfire, and you make civilization that way because it's a social locus. It's warm, it gives them leisure time, it lets them make music which vibrates stuff. And so other tool use, for example, didn't lead to civilization because he says, if we define civilization as the development of more effective tools of killing, because that was the only thing we made tools for, just to kill stuff.
And that's the only.
Then the most civilized of those who are the most able to kill.
Anthropologists as well. That's like what's his name? Oscar Kissmers Myatt.
Oh, Oscar Kissmeyer,
Yeah.
the brain-eating man.
Yeah. Fuck him off. We've got LC Vincent here telling us what's what.
LC
Wobble
Vincent and
boards.
Oscar Kissmeyer really should debate about the origins of civilization. That would be Chomsky v. Foucault 2024. I do hope both of them are alive because we need to make it. We could be the forum in which that happens. Book Club from Hell.
It'd be one of the most formidable debates ever, or discussions. You know, like that atheist circle jerk. There's like the four horsemen of the apocalypse. It was like Dan Dennett and Sam Harris and stuff, like sitting around like talking to each other. You could get like Oscar Kiss Myatt. You could get LC Vincent. You could get what's Piss Rag man? Old Piss Raggy man.
the John Armstrong.
John Armstrong. And we need a fourth one to round it off. The Book Club from Hell's like Four Horsemen of Woo Woo. What's another good one?
Just let Ilona Selker in.
Oh,
there.
of course. And of course, you've got to have Don Paris, PhD, to be her footstool
on the panpipes.
Footstool on the pan. With his little gimp mask on.
They're all debating while he's just waving the SE5 one over him.
He's got up to a wobble board. Yeah, anyways, we should get back to the text.
Yeah, we're going to do that. Okay, so music is really important because what is music? It's organized vibrations. Again, now that I've thought about it, and when I say thought about it, I mean said it out loud. If everything is a vibration, then just everything is an organized vibration, which actually makes music a whole lot less important.
Yeah.
But let's just forget that. Let's just say music is a special vibration. So, the ancient Greeks liked music. And because it's woo-woo, you need to have at least one ancient civilization that you point back to and say, look, they're old, which means they're right.
He got the Egyptians.
Therefore,
he got the Greeks.
Yeah, whatever
Coursera
course I'm currently hawking about how to fix your entire life, you only pay me $75, is legitimized by connection with these ancient civilizations.
Chuck in a Marcus Aurelius quote and you can up that to like a $95 course.
So the Greeks liked the golden ratio. They liked the Fibonacci sequence. And the Western musical scale, our 7-note, 12-tone musical system, is based on the golden section. And I quote.
It's not John Armstrong's
built upon the
golden
ratios
section.
and mathematical relationships of certain numbers to each other, these sacred numbers and proportions identify our subtle links to the entire cosmos of creation. So,
would you say subtle dimensions of creation?
You definitely could say subtle dimensions. I feel like there are so many in-jokes here that unless someone listening is well acquainted with all of our previous
unless you're in the ninth circle of the Book Club from Hell, you're not going to get necessarily all of the obscure references we're going to make to other parts of the woo-woo verse that we've covered.
It's been a while since we've done woo-woo, and it is refreshing to do it. It's also refreshing to do woo-woo, which suddenly becomes very angry and conspiratorial.
Yeah.
So, how about this? I'll just quote this bit, which basically sums up this section on the importance of music. This linkage between man and the cosmos, mankind and the divine, is based on mathematical, all caps, resonance. This resonance is based on our physical extremities, which are proportional to our embodiment of the golden ratio within our very own physical frame. As Leonardo da Vinci expressed in numerous drawings of the physical body, our bodily structures, as all of nature, are resplendent and resonant of mathematical ratios, most commonly expressed in the golden ratio. Since music is also a reflection of the same series of ratios and harmonic vibratory relationships as reflected in the cosmos of nature, man being a part of that creation is also directly by the vibratory concept of resonance. And there you go. We're all vibrations. Music is a vibration. So when a vibration hears a vibration, it's really affected. Again, though, because everything's a vibration, it to me feels like music's just not as special as he's making it out to be, unless there's something else that sets it apart. Because again, like the microphone I'm talking into at the moment is also a vibration. But I don't know. Maybe it's just not resonating with me in the same way that music tuned according to sacred frequencies based on a sacred geometry would be.
I think
for him, all caps resonance is a sympathetic vibration. through this linkage of vibratory overtones between a listener and some other vibration.
How can you tell
it's
if
really
a
important.
particular concept is important to an author, Jack? The frequency with which they capitalize the term.
Yeah, he does like making certain things like resonance all caps all the time. I just noticed in that quote, he spells through THRU.
It's really annoying.
Consistently that way through the entire book.
I don't know why he did it.
I just don't know why he did that.
I don't really care about the rest of the mistakes, except I found that one particularly annoying. I don't know why. It just got on my nerves.
I was the opposite. Because it's consistent. It didn't worry me that much. It was just, he's just decided to spell this word weirdly, but he consistently spells it weirdly. Anyway, so when you're listening to music, it's resonating with you. And if that music is based on sacred number harmonics, then it's nourishing and it's getting you in contact with the rest of the quantum field vibration of the universe or something. And that's good. However, resonance can affect you badly if you're resonating with a frequency that's not based on sacred number harmonics, then it can be really bad for you. Because
like, what if you're resonating with, like, I don't know, Ted Bundy or something? You know, you don't want
exactly.
You just might get on his wavelength, so to speak, which might be a bad thing. You might end up dead or a murderer. Either of which is not a particularly great time, unless I guess that's your thing. But I'm going to assume it's not your thing, Jack.
No, it's
or
not.
you, listener.
Really.
Daniel.
You know what my thing is, though? My thing?
Yeah.
Kepler's idea of the music of the spheres.
Oh, damn.
He talks about Kepler a lot.
Yeah, Kepler.
And keeps misspelling Kepler's name. He's just like, he consistently misspells his name, but he just keeps misspelling Kepler's name.
Kepler's main innovation was to graduate the solar system from a circle jerk to an elliptical jerk.
Yeah, precisely.
That was Kepler, I'm pretty sure. I hope so.
Anyway, he's got these sections about how the intervals in a musical scale that exists according to principles of sacred numbers has some sort of relationship to the orbits of planets. I didn't really get this because the orbits of planets also change. Like they're not perfectly circular. They do change over time with relation to each other.
Yeah, I found it hard to follow this part as well because I was just trying to speed read it as fast as I could.
I just didn't. There are so many things in this book that
blah 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 blah. Something about planets. Blah blah blah. Jupiter. Why is Jupiter the conductor of the solar system? Again, I could flick back a page.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. There's some part about the There's something about how the entire solar system is basically a musical scale that is some sort of quantum field with Jupiter as the resonant center.
Was it 5/3? Is that like a musical thing? He said something about there being 3/5 or something apart. Something.
Oh, wait. Here's a quote. So this isn't the one about Jupiter, but this is very important. A planetary kiss or synod occurs when one planet most closely approaches another. Does Earth experience any harmonic vibrations from other planets? According to Martineau, we kiss, closely approach, Mars 3 times for every 4 Venus kisses, so an ultra-slow 3/4 rhythm, or a deep musical fourth is being played around us all the time.
And sorry, Jack mispronounced the name of that academic. It was actually Alamariu. Costin Alamariu.
He's
talking about
the woo-woo astronomer.
The woo-woo astronomer who made this breakthrough discovery that there's 5 Venus kisses for every 3 Mars kisses, which is why we're grooving.
Oh, no. It's 3 Mars kisses for every 4 Venus kisses. Sorry, I don't know. He doesn't talk about time signatures in this book, My guess is that he also has very strong feelings about time signatures. So potentially he has a real problem with 5-4. Wouldn't surprise me at all. But 3-4 is okay.
I would just like to know if he thinks that, like, at what point is it no longer house? Is it like 100, 110, 120 BPM? And like, and what point does it go from like house to like?
If it's house? Anything but 128 beats per minute, it's disgusting and not house. 129 is
get up to
completely
psytrance.
unacceptable.
And what's the upper limit of acceptable when it's no longer psytrance as well? That's what I want to know.
And is there an optimal tempo, or does it just keep getting better as it gets faster or slower? Like, is speedcore or splitter core just objectively better than everything else?
And what about dynamic speed?
Or does it go on the other way? Is Earth 2 the perfect?
I wonder if he'd have any thoughts on acid trap.
I just don't know what acid trap is. But I'm going to type it in so that after this episode, I can listen to acid trap. So we're in the section first attempts at scientific tuning. He talks about mean tone temperament and equal temperament. He feels very strongly that mean tone is better than equal temperament. And okay. Should I quote it? It's a long quote. He's basically saying that
let him cook.
Let
him cook. Go on. Turn it up.
Okay.
Turn it up. We're here for it. Let's go.
The keynote also has a hidden esoteric quality which most people, including most musicians, would never suspect. It is simply this. If the fundamental keynote frequency, based upon its numerical... Sorry, I got a cold. Numerical vibration value in cycles per second is in harmonic resonance with the sacred number, template, and patterns of the universe found and reflected in the golden mean and the Fibonacci sequence of numbers via continuous geometric proportion, the great cosmic bond Plato felt was essential to cosmic truth, then that keynote will reflect and be in resonance with nature, man, and the cosmos. However, if that same keynote frequency is randomly or arbitrarily selected, or worse, purposely selected so that it does not resonate in sympathy with this hidden cosmic musical template, then all the resultant musical scales produced from this keynote and, all caps, every single note, both above and below this keynote, will be misaligned with the universal cosmic truth generated from the sacred numbers patterns found.
Wow. Wow.
It's a lot to take in.
I kind of, when I read these things, okay, so one serious thing to say and one non-serious thing. The slightly non-serious, make one serious point. Is I kind of feel like I'm glad that I don't have any sort of psychotic disorder.
Yeah. This weird, this circular thinking.
Yeah, but it's kind of like Ilona Selke. It's like, if I assume that her life isn't otherwise too disrupted, she also kind of sounds like she lives in a pretty like fun universe. I know, just like there's a lot of crazy stuff happening. Everything has meaning. In her case, because she's not like conspiratorial, she's like, everything is kind of good and stuff. But this guy, I guess, because he gets so conspiratorial, I suppose it'd just be like really probably just he's probably not having a good time.
This guy is much angrier than Ilona Selke. This is a very angry book. It's not apparent yet, but it is very angry.
If you could have the magical thinking, good times without the paranoia, then it doesn't sound like the worst thing in the world, I suppose.
It's like an acid trip.
Yeah, I guess I just like the fact that
Ilona Selke's having a good trip where meaning is written on everything. She's in constant communion with the unity of all the universe. Whereas this guy is getting a lot of the paranoia.
Yeah.
He's worried that his mum's about to call him, so he's locked his phone in a cupboard. he's worried that the police know that he's taken acid, so he's locked the front door and is hiding under the couch.
Yeah, he's
convinced that the walls are listening to him.
The good thing about when you take acid in Minecraft is that the acid eventually wears off. So
yeah, Minecraft acid does wear off.
But so the second serious thing is this thing that actually is, I don't need to unpack it a huge amount here, but there's a great podcast called for anybody who's been wanting to learn more about Karl Popper. There's actually the Karl Popper Society at Oxford has a podcast series on it, and they have they don't just talk about Popper, they also talk to contemporary thinkers who
like Elsie Vincent,
who just like I just like
a leading Popperian philosopher.
Have been influenced by Popper and stuff. And one of the guys came up, he's an educational theorist. I know, try to find the episode, I can't remember the guy's name. Really interesting point though. He made this fascinating point in one of his discussions with some other education. They had like a couple of people talking about education, like Popper's philosophy and how it affects education, or how it could influence educational philosophy. And he made this fascinating point. He said, right, so when we're talking about children, there's this term that sometimes comes up if you talk to like a psychologist or an educational theorist. They talk about children having this thing called quote unquote magical thinking. And that it's a sign of like, development, that their magical thinking becomes less as they get older. And, like they stop believing in, Santa or God and other silly things like that. And then they like they become a little
become a Reddit atheist.
Correct, this little Reddit atheist, and they replace their delusions of God with the delusion of a state that cares about them. So sorry, okay.
They start trusting the science.
Trusting the science. Yeah. And listening to Sam Harris. No. So
I actually quite like Sam Harris.
I do as well. Like I know I get in my occasional Sam Harris thing, but I actually really like him, and I paid a lot of money to listen to his content over the years. So, but I also do find it funny. Anyways, back to my serious point. Oh yeah, and he made this interesting point. He's like, why do we make this distinction? Because it doesn't really, like, magical thinking. Like, have you actually gone and read like Einstein's theory, or like, you never actually see, say, like a chromosome or an electron. We have theories about them, and we observe like certain pieces of evidence, and we construct this narrative that helps us explain the seen in terms of the unseen, to use David Deutsch's phraseology. And that requires magical thinking. And really, there's the only real distinction between the magical thinking and what we consider like non-magical thinking is the fact that, like, whether it's in terms of developmental psychology or whether in terms of like creating like good explanations of the world, we just constrain it more. We just say like, well, can't just have just free form, just magical thinking. We've got to constrain it, and here's some of our criteria for how we constrain it, and like empirical testing and stuff. And I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, it's really important that you don't just like shut down the magical thinking, because maybe like in order to create like a new really good idea, whether it's like in fiction or in science or whatever, you actually need to be a bit kooky and have a little bit of like weird magical thinking. If you cut that off, you actually like the new idea by definition is not in the known space of current ideas in the culture. So you need the magical thinking to get outside of that space. And it's just really interesting to see these people like this guy who their magical thinking is just kind of unconstrained, and they haven't picked up, I don't know whether it's like a neurochemical thing or whether it's like it's maybe more like at a software level, like they have some entrenched, what David Deutsch would call like a hang up, or like maybe, like in a...
Oh, this guy definitely has a hang up. Yeah, we know exactly what it is. The tuning of A above middle C is his thing. And he's going to talk about that thing.
I mean, like an entrenched, like a complex, like the what do they call the psychotherapists say complex? It's like some idea that it's incredibly difficult for this person to like get out of their like psyche, and it's just running amok. And maybe there's a neurochemical component to it, you know, or a neurocellular component. I should say, like, probably is that as well. But I also wonder how much of it is like there's like some rogue idea that they basically are incapable of constraining within their own psychology, and it's just like, yeah, just running rampant and just like messing up their ability to discern like reasonable magical thinking and unreasonable magical thinking.
There's some particular neuronal circuit about A440 that that basically just takes up so much of this person's inner life, so much of his subjectivity.
Yeah, it's man.
Yeah, it is interesting talking about the magical thinking thing, because
crazy thing that I'm doing is spending hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of my life talking to you about these people, Jack.
Yeah. Because it's even things that we think of as completely pedestrian and commonplace today, like an aerofoil.
Or the idea of a nation state.
To have come up with that is a really odd thing. That this idea that if you just shape a surface in a certain way and then push enough air across it, it's going to rise up in the air. Like you're going to get a high and a low pressure cell on different sides of it, and that's just going to give it lift. Is a very odd thing. You're right. The difference is, I guess, structure, in that if someone's thinking is structured enough that they can replicate certain effects of their own magical thinking in the world, then it becomes a bit less magical.
Yeah. Well, you wonder how many just taken for granted because we've grown up in like a scientific technological society, or the fact that we've got scientific educations, that we just take for granted that we have like some constraints in our thinking. But if I was just like, hey, Jack, why don't we just like remove one of those constraints? Like, what if we just like remove the second law of thermodynamics? Like, what does your worldview look like? Like, you must, maybe it substantively changes like really the way that you
turns into modern monetary theory.
Turns you into a fiat cuck. That's what it does.
It's good. We got it in there.
We got it in there.
We got
Buy
crypto
Bitcoin,
jokes
boys.
in there. The obligatory crypto jokes
Bitcoin
every episode.
I should bleep that out. This is not financial advice, but yeah.
This is financial advice.
Don't listen to me. I just really like Bitcoin.
What about the section on cymatics? I don't know how to pronounce it. Cymatics.
Cymatics.
I've seen this before.
It's really cool. They've got them at
Cymatics.
Mona here in Hobart. If anybody ever comes to Hobart or Australia wants to come see like the Museum of Old New Art in Hobart, it's sick. And they've got this crazy section that this guy would go nuts about. It's like you walk in, it's this dark room, and it was built by a physicist, and it's based on his time at CERN. And it's like flashing. It's like instant epileptic fit if you walk in there. If you have epilepsy, it's like flashing lights, and there's all these like lasers shooting around and stuff. And they've got this one table. Oh, they've got a few tables with these beads on them, and the beads are forming patterns based on like the subwoofer that's going on. It's like a very high stimulation room. It's really good.
So what cymatics are, it's this thing where you basically get some sort of membrane, a thin membrane that you can vibrate with sound. And they'll put something over that membrane, like it can be sand or water or metal filings. And they make all these funky shapes according to different frequencies. And certain frequencies make really incredible shapes, like very, very structured, ordered
like
shapes.
A certain six-pointed star, would you say, Jack?
Exactly. It starts flashing you little hints about the Great Replacement theory and how Israel is taking over all world governments. If you spend too much time looking into the abyss of cymatics, you appear on the other side as an anti-Semite.
If you start playing, God damn it, what's that? Stairway to Heaven backwards, through your
Backwards,
sound
yeah.
system, and you put some sand on like a little piece of plastic and then stare at the sand. One, you should call your psychologist. And two, you'll start.
It just starts telling you numbers about why the Holocaust couldn't possibly have happened, because they couldn't have killed that many people in that quick a
LC
time.
Vincent
It
just comes
starts, like,
out of the
reading off statistics to you on the cymatic membrane.
Yeah. And then if you go in and look into the mirror and say LC Vincent 3 times, then the mirror will pop up behind you.
He'll pop up behind you and start playing you the secret sacred
On a tiny
harmonies.
little reed wind flute.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, these are insights we've derived from the text. He didn't specifically say that certain frequencies on a cymatic device will just start talking about the Jewish question and start blasting you with hate speech. But this is something that you only get with a very close reading of this text.
I don't know if I should say that.
You only get it with a close, very unconstrained reading of this.
If you look very closely, like put in like a couple of drops of like red dye into a clear glass, and then start playing like a call to prayer, and then all of a sudden you'll just see like a free Palestine. Don't know. We should definitely not put that in.
Yeah, then suddenly the water glues itself to your living room floor and refuses to move. Yeah, so
Shout out to
he says that the reason why certain
Political
frequencies
correctness.
make these very, very ordered symbols and some don't is because the ones that make ordered symbols are based on sacred geometry, sacred numbers, and things like that. And the other ones not only aren't, but are demonic.
extremely.
They sever your connection to the divine. So,
Would you say they
to the point about
interfere with your
cymatics,
connection to the divine, Jack?
I think it definitely does. Stops you resonating. There's wave interference, which I guess if everything is a vibration, you'd get a lot of wave interference.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like everything would be interfering with
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So, to the point about cymatics, it's easy to make fun of woo-woo people for looking at these shapes and reading into them, but I would be really surprised if it were just completely unconnected to some sort of fundamental structure of the universe, that certain frequencies vibrating a membrane cause such incredible and replicable complexity and structure. There's probably actually something really profound going on. I don't deny that, because the structure that replicates itself with certain frequencies is incredible. The thing is, I'd probably be a bit more disciplined about the conclusions I draw from this phenomenon
And your
Elsie
methodological
Vincent is.
approach as well. Be like a little bit more careful. Yeah. I think what is really cool about it though is we do actually use this kind of idea. Not exactly the same idea, but we kind of do use it in medicine, right? With like ultrasounds. It's like, and we do use like with radiotherapy, like the precision radiotherapy these days, my understanding of it, I might be wrong, it's like they get like multiple lasers, and the way that they prevent like not lasers but like sources of radiation.
I'm not sure what precisely they use actually for radiotherapy.
But like and they basically, so it doesn't affect like the intermittent like tissue. They line it up so that the interference somehow like hits the point. They have this like incredibly precise way of targeting the cells that they're trying to kill, and they are using this sort of phenomenon. It's pretty cool. So it was interesting to think like, okay, well, if these patterns do come up in water, and as he does say, like we're 60% water, it's like, oh, okay. Like, what crazy stuff could you do if you're just using sound and you weren't just...
like MRI.
Yeah.
Like the technology behind magnetic resonance imaging is looking at the spin
Yeah.
of, like, it's looking at the spin of, I forget what it is specifically in water molecules, but like, if you understand this well enough, you can build up a 3-dimensional image of a person,
Yeah.
non-invasively,
Yeah.
and just look inside their body. Again, without opening them, you just put them into this big machine, to these big magnets. So, yeah, like this.
I was more thinking like
This stuff is real. Like, cymatics is looking at something that is real. You just need to be a bit more disciplined about the conclusions you draw from it. But if you are disciplined, you can do really cool things.
I was thinking just like, what if you were in like a really grungy basement techno club and you're right next to the speaker at the front and you're just like blasted. Like, what's the cymatics of that, man? It's in my body. Because I'm definitely feeling something when that's happening.
Well, it's good that you bring that up, because that is actually... That's not far from his central thesis, that music, because so much of us is water, and because he says water is the most pliable, plastic, cymatic material.
It's pretty great.
We're deeply affected by sound vibrations specifically, because so much of us is water.
That's why I think Ziz was onto something. He was a very
hard style,
very cymatic young man. Yeah, hard style for sure.
It was the combination of an aesthetic body, so an aesthetic medium. Ziz's cymatic medium, the highly aesthetic medium, being vibrated by hard style,
early 2010s,
Melbourne shuffle,
Melbourne
and hardcore.
Doing that little shuffle that they do.
Yeah, Melbourne shuffle. It's Melbourne's
How do you think he got
achievement.
such aesthetic calves? It wasn't from doing standing calves, right? It was from doing the Melbourne
That was
shuffle.
how he did cardio. Just Melbourne shuffle in his basement. Just put on show tech, did the shuffle for 90 minutes or something like that. That's your cardio done for the day. Is show tech still around? These are things I can find out after the episode. Anyway, so the thing is, woo-woo bingo. I just came across a bit in my notes. Cells. Woo-woo people love cells. Cells emit sound as a result of intracellular processes, and these sounds affect other cells in their environment. Because remember, cells are mostly water. Water is the best cymatic medium, so it's responding to sound so much. So they're all affecting each other. The thing is, noise pollution or music that doesn't adhere to sacred numbers will vibrate your cells badly, right? And it damages you on a cellular and a spiritual level. There you go. There you go.
Simple, actually. We really...
Oh shit! More
really dragged that one.
Woo-woo bingo.
We really dragged that one out.
How about this? This for woo-woo bingo. So he says physicists Neil Bohr. I just want to note that he misspells Niels Bohr's name. He does spell his name correctly elsewhere, so there was probably just a typo.
Niels Bohr
and Werner Heisenberg discovered, to their amazement, that their presence and expectations, their thoughts, actually had a verifiable effect upon the outcomes of their physics experiments. He goes on to say, in other words, if you are expecting negativity, you will very likely find it before you find something positive coming into your life. And if you genuinely expect good, you will find more of it entering your life as well. This is an important component of woo-woo bingo. It's particularly the dual slit experiment these people love, because they've just decided that it means
Copenhagen
that
interpretation.
Yeah, you can just decide that manifestation exists, which is just not something that I think you can readily draw from the dual slit experiment. So yes, in the dual slit experiment, observation seems to change the pattern of where photons land on a sensor. But drawing from that, if you think positive thoughts, the universe will resonate and send positive things back to you seems like a bit of a stretch. I just think more experimental data are needed before you get to that point from the dual slit experiment.
Nah.
Nah.
They love Deepak Chopra, man. These guys. Yeah, these secret people, like The Secret, and there's probably other woo-woo people that we've covered. Oh, yeah, like I would imagine Don Paris and Ilona would just love this, like, spooky action at a distance, like observer-dependent interpretation.
But we know they love it because they both talk about quantum
they love it.
physics in their books.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, isn't it?
Like, I agree. What little I know about quantum physics,
weird.
It's really weird. It's spooky. It's counterintuitive. The thing is, like, it's great to chase those feelings of finding it alien and strange, because it is alien and strange. But just be a bit disciplined with how you interpret those things.
People spend a lot of their...
Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that anything you want to be possible is possible.
I think that one of the issues that I have with it is, like, people spend a lot of time trying to understand that stuff, and they spend like decades of their life trying to really understand it. And these people read like one pamphlet by Deepak Chopra or something, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, well, this is just going to inform my entire worldview, and I obviously understand it." And I'm just going to include it in my book.
Yeah. But okay, so finally, we're getting to the good stuff. I quote, "Allow me to introduce the Devil's Apprentice, a learned yet a very inconspicuous gentleman by the name of John C. Deagan. Dun, dun, dun. It was Deagan, first through the American Federation of Musicians and later through the Deagan Instrument Company, who was to become the innocent agent of world chaos through the unseen, invisible influence of the Rockefeller Family Foundation."
Oh no! Oh my god!
It was them.
It was them all along. How could you?
So there we go. We've got... Now the book gets really good. So we've covered the first half of the book. It's theory. These are the vegetables you need to eat before you get to the dessert of the Rockefeller family using John C. Deagan as the Devil's Apprentice.
My favorite part of the book.
Used his distribution of tuned percussion instruments throughout the United States to establish in 1910 A440 as the standard tuning. A440 is damaging on a cellular, a quantum, a spiritual level. It misaligns your chakras. It makes you violent. It makes you oppositional because it is divisible by 2, but not by 3. It literally led to World War I and World War II, and the threatened World War III is going to happen because of A440. There's a lot here. There's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah. My favorite part of the book was the big reveal. Yeah, the John C. Deagan as a Muppet puppet of the it was the Rockefellers, right? Yeah, the Rockefellers. Yeah.
Because most woo-woo books are pretty formless, whereas this book is narratively more interesting because of this reveal, because of the dyadic structure of this book.
Nice.
The woo-woo
that
theory.
Was a good one. Well done. That was actually a good one.
And then you've got the second half of the book of just fucking psychotic conspiracy theories. There is a certain mode of thought that we've come across several times on this podcast of, I guess this is the autism schizophrenia axis that we've discussed earlier. So the autism part of that is, I guess it's not a one-dimensional, it's a two-dimensional thing. You've got the autism axis and the schizophrenia axis. Neither of these terms are being used clinically. I should not. Before people get angry at me for being imprecise with my terminology. So the autism is basically how much you focus on one thing to the exclusion of all others. Schizophrenia is basically connectivity, just how many connections between concepts you're going to draw, how free associational is your thinking.
Jordan Peterson, very high on the schizo axis.
Yeah.
What's that guy's name who wrote the Decline of the West? Spengler, very high on the schizo axis.
No, Spengler maxes out the autism and the schizo axis. He's the archetypal top right corner. Yeah, so L.C. Vincent, I'd say he's moderate on the autism axis in that he really likes how you tune A above middle C.
He's moderately high.
That's his thing.
He's definitely in the upper quintile.
Probably.
Fairly fixated.
By virtue of the fact of appearing on this podcast, basically everyone is actually going to be pretty high on the autism and schizo axis. But this guy's definitely schizo-dominant.
If we normalize it to the average of the people on...
Yeah. Let's say these are normalized acts. This is on a log scale.
Yeah, and put it on
this isn't linear. This is a log scale. That's the only way we're going to be able to separate people out.
Yeah, for sure.
Book Club from Hell.
So he's not...
So for example... Spengler is way more autistic. He's way more German than L.C. Vincent.
He's way more German.
Compared to the normal population of humans, of course, both of these people are way up in the top right corner. But Spengler is noticeably more laser focused on examining styles of columns and arches and the use of color in paintings.
If it's a function of the number of pages that the person has written, it'd be 10 to 20 times more.
Yeah. Hence the log scale.
Yeah,
I think a log scale actually makes a lot of sense.
2 points higher.
On a stupid verbal graph of different people we've talked about on this podcast. So, okay. In the chapter, The Devil's Apprentice...
I'm glad that we're using all of our scientific training to do it so we can characterise...
I'm glad Australian taxpayers funded my education.
Shout out to Commonwealth-supported program. For all my hypocritical bitching about the state, I do love my subsidised education.
I certainly availed myself of a heavily subsidised education.
All of our American anarcho-libertarian listeners are turning their nose up at us now. So I don't give a shit.
Yeah, whatever. I could have a lot of debt, but I don't.
Yeah, we just have a really shitty currency, that's all. So, whatever.
Anyway, The Devil's Apprentice. John C. Deagan, he was a musician who lived in the late 19th, early 20th centuries in the United States of America. He was interested in tuned percussion instruments, and he sought to improve their tonal qualities, first of the glockenspiel, by refining the percussion bars. He began selling these instruments through the John C. Deagan Musical Instrument Company. Went on to make xylophones, vibraphones, orchestra bells, chimes...
and wobble boards.
So on. And... so, L.C. Vincent hates this guy. I feel like making your fortune off building high-quality musical instruments is a really nice thing. I find that highly sympathetic. So, but I guess it's all a front, isn't it? Because he is the devil's apprentice.
This poor guy,
he was taking that Rockefeller money to corrupt the world.
To make good instruments. Just what a decent thing to do.
A guy was trying to make good instruments, made crazy bank on it, made a huge amount of money.
Good at what he did, and then this is having his
cool.
Legacy
That's a really great
by
thing.
L.C. Vincent.
So I feel a lot of sympathy for John C. Deagan. I think making a ton of money off making high quality musical instruments is really cool, but I guess I just haven't considered this deeply enough. And that's where L.C. Vincent comes in. So what Deagan did was that in 1896, so it's his classic conspiracy theory logic where he puts together a number of things that, unless you had a running commentary drawing the conclusions that he wishes to draw, you probably wouldn't put together in the same way that L.C. Vincent does. But that's where L.C. Vincent comes in. That's why he wrote this book. So you can draw the right conclusions. So 1896, Deagan became one of the founding members of the American Federation of Musicians in New York City. These people were debating, standardizing how you tune A above middle C. Deagan was an advocate for tuning it to A440. And I quote, "In timing which could easily prove far more than a mere coincidence, the American Federation of Musicians received a grant from the Rockefeller Foundation in 1910 to make A equals 440 Hz the keynote tuning standard for America at their annual convention. According to Brian T. Collins, it was John Deagan, as one of the founding members of the American Federation of Musicians, who was the final determinant in having this new tuning pitch and tuning standard for bands and orchestras adopted by the AFM. Deagan also provided the US Bureau of Standards with a set of tuning forks for A440. He was making tuning forks. And in 1912, the John C. Deagan Company opened the largest musical instrument manufacturing space in the world in the city of Chicago. In order for this building to have been finished by 1912, I want to note, construction had to have been started 1 or 2 years earlier. And what happened 1 or 2 years earlier in 1910? Well, A440 was adopted as the standard tuning of A above middle C in the United States of America by the American Federation of Musicians. Who contributed money in 1910 to this organization? The Rockefellers. So therefore, this big, beautiful building for the John C. Deagan Company could only have been built with a loan from someone extremely wealthy. Who could that have been? The Rockefeller Foundation. The Rockefellers also bought Deagan bells for their churches, and guess what these bells were tuned to? A440. Deagan sold tuned percussion instruments, which are tuned in the factory, so he's got control over their tuning. Guess what they were tuned to? A440. Therefore, they're always dangerous. What happens when you have a tuned percussion instrument in an orchestra? Everyone's got to tune to that instrument, because that instrument can't retune with the same ease that a violin can, for example. So now in the USA, every orchestra had to tune to A440.
It was a strategic choice, high
and
leverage choice of which instruments to tune.
It was a very high leverage choice of what to manufacture if his intent was to force the United States of America to listen to A440 tuned sounds all the time, therefore sowing chaos and hatred and division throughout the United States. It has extremely high leverage. Furthermore,
there's layers to it, man.
There are so many layers. In the chapter Nefarious NBC Chimes, the NBC radio network started in the late 1920s. 50% owned by the Rockefellers, operated from Radio City Music Hall at the Rockefeller Center. NBC Radio used a signature 3-note chime as part of all station identification breaks from 1929. This became ubiquitous throughout the United States of America. Guess who made these chimes? Yeah, John Deagan. Guess what these chimes were tuned to? A440. And the thing is, like,
controlling the mind of the
guy,
populace. Broadcast media.
The guy, yeah, so obviously he wanted things tuned to A440. He decided that was the tuning he wanted. I just feel like, so L.C. Vincent makes a big deal that everything coming out of this factory was tuned to A440. But as a counterpoint, which I feel stupid at even just trying to make a semi-serious counterpoint to this book. But if you're making tuned percussion instruments, then yeah, you're going to standardize the tuning of them because you don't want two products from the same company to be incompatible with each other. Yeah, you get to tune them all.
Oh,
to the
that's
same
very
standard.
convenient, Jack. Yeah,
it's very convenient.
Yeah. Typical Jack sticking up for the Rockefellers.
for the literal devil, because he does eventually ascribe a demonic intent to A440. What also happened? So Deagan were making these really large bells for bell towers throughout the United States, which were also tuned to A440, and these bells ring each hour. And so just Americans are being constantly bombarded with A440 non-stop. There is no escape from it.
Yeah. I agree. I think I
it gets better.
What he's talking about. Yeah.
It gets better because
convenient.
In every conspiracy theory book, you always need a representative from either the Rockefellers or the Rothschilds. If they're more contemporary, George Soros, something like
the
that.
Bushes or the Obamas these
you need
days.
them. Yeah, the Obamas. They probably are advocates for A440.
Probably are.
You know who isn't? Donald Trump.
Yeah. He's a 432.
He's an A432 man.
A strong, true American. Make America 432 again. Proposition 432.
This is what I keep trying to tell people.
440 tunings in all instruments in the continental United States.
Imagine if Trump won the election for a third time, and the first thing he did in office was literally ban tuning anything to A440.
I would love that so much. I would love it.
Glorious.
In my ideal future, like we've grown this podcast to like millions and millions of followers, just a horde, just a demonic horde.
The entire population of Earth and all extraterrestrial.
And we actually have enough leverage to like do something stupid, like get people to go and make like a 432 tuning a policy issue in like some obscure part of the world.
Policy. This is a wedge issue.
Add that to the platform. We've got crypto nukes, we got Bitcoin, we got A432.
The latest front in the culture war. You can forget trans stuff. That's done.
That's old hat.
That is so low temperature compared to the white scalding heat of the A440 versus A432 standard.
You know where that would probably get off the ground? It's probably somewhere like really aspy, like Germany, like where there's probably like a really like where there's probably a lot of like really musically talented people who are also just like. Just really, really care about weird niche stuff like this. We could actually like maybe like check, maybe I don't know.
This is how the AFD finally wins. They stop focusing on issues like migration, focus on how to tune A above middle C. That's how they unite Germany.
Like, I am pretty sure whenever I've met German, it must be something to do with like the education system or something. They all seem to like have musical instruments in like their back pocket.
It's the national soul. Playing classical music and bathing naked in mountain streams is just the ultimate expression of the German spirit.
In 432.
Playing your violin naked in a mountain pine forest, bathing in a stream.
Beautiful,
That's
fair,
Germany.
rippling abs. And hair flowing in the wind. And a white dove.
Anyway, we really should make this an electoral issue.
In the German.
I'm surprised it hasn't already been identified as an electoral issue, but that's where
Macron seems like a 440 sort of bloke, doesn't he?
Hard to say. Well, as we know, he's tainted by Rothschild money. And the Rothschild, as I learned in this book, the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers form the Illuminati Alliance.
I'm going to start using this
and they promote A440. So it only logically follows that Macron is a 440 man. Le Pen, then, I suspect, is going to be something other than
428.
There are three tuning conventions that are good that he goes over later in this book. Le Pen's probably one of those.
I think we could use this as a very obscure compliment on the Discord server and like in our lives. It's just so like when something's really cool, we could always like, so 432,
a 440 cell or a 432 chat?
Yeah, 432. That's 432, bro. They were like, what are you talking about? Shut the fuck up. Go back to the internet.
Anyway, what was I saying before? Oh, yeah, Nazis.
Oh, yeah, Nazis.
You need to bring Nazis in.
I'm surprised you didn't get Nazis
theory.
on the moon, but yeah, Hey, still Nazis, still good.
You are not legally allowed to self-publish a book on Kindle Direct about conspiracy theories without bringing up the Nazis at least once. So, Rockefeller money, big Rockefeller, was trying to push A440 into Europe using Deagan products. You hear that? Big A440, there's still a force in the world today, was trying to invade Europe. And where was there in Europe in the 1930s, I ask you? Where else could it be except the Nazi Party in Germany?
Radio used effectively to spread propaganda of the total state?
Exactly. So there was an alliance between the Rockefellers, the British Standards Institute, and Joseph Goebbels. All three wanted to promote A440.
Were the Rockefellers
so
Jewish? I feel like that's
aligned.
maybe they're not. The Rockefellers.
I didn't think so. I don't know much deep Rockefeller lore beyond, say, the Standard Oil story, which was really
I typed in Rockefeller into Google and it came up with a picture of Jeff Bezos. Why?
Even Google search is getting in on the Rockefeller conspiracy theory.
Yeah, they were German. Why would they help the Nazis?
So
I mean, sorry, they were Jewish. They were Jewish. Why would they help the Nazis?
Really? Why would they indeed? Why would they indeed? I quote, in 1939, so it was decided by this strange triumvirate that the note of A above middle C on the piano would henceforth officially be considered to vibrate at 440 hertz or 440 cycles per second. As an aside, I like how repeatedly in this text, whenever he mentions that something is measured in hertz, he needs to tell you what hertz means.
Does it so many times.
That it's like, you just tell us once at the start of the book. We can remember it. Anyway, I continue. This apparent innocent decision, if seen in its larger context, may rightly be considered as one of the most momentous and possibly catastrophic decisions in world history. So, in 1939, Goebbels held an international conference to establish A440 as the international musical keynote, and the Acoustic Committee of Radio Berlin requested that the British Standard Association organise a congress in London to adopt the standard, which they did. And no French musicians were invited to this congress. A440 was imposed on the French against their will. You think the occupation of Paris was bad, right? What about A440? Imposed on the French, these lovers of freedom, these lovers of universal harmony and concordance.
I've never heard anybody say that about the
A440
French,
was forced upon them.
Universal harmony.
So,
Sacre bleu. What is this?
This is the greatest evil of the Nazis. They just went around Europe imposing A440 upon everyone. So, it's just the most retarded shit. I'm sorry. Okay, no, I just need to take a deep breath and compose myself.
L.C. Vincent has done something special with this book in a mere 60 pages.
In a mere 60 pages. So I read this in one sitting. I felt like I was losing my mind. We're still not at the craziest bit where he just goes off the fucking deep end. A lot of it is in all caps. The spelling gets weirder, but
he starts bitching about country music.
Country music? Oh no. Okay, I got a really long quote, but it is going to lead us to country music, which means it's worth it. I apologize for my congested voice this whole episode, especially because there are so many quotes I'm reading out. I promise, though, that I am vibrating at a non-A440 frequency, so this is safe to listen to. I quote, "Based on what we have already established and know about music, matter, vibration, and energy, imagine for a moment this bizarre scenario. Imagine that you are an incredibly powerful, wealthy, influential person who secretly grows wealthier due to conflict, destruction, disease, death, and war. You've discovered that certain sound frequencies, those easily divisible by 2, signifying opposition..." Oh, shit! This is... Okay, now let's put a pin in that quote. This is really important.
Scatterbrain Jack over here has had his brain fried. Come on, mate.
Okay.
Bring it home.
When thinking about numbers, it's really important to consider whether they're divisible by 2 or 3. So
that's like numerology.
What does it mean for something to be divisible by 2? Okay. What does it mean to be an even number? What are 2 things? 2 things are in opposition. Okay. If there are 2 things, they can have no relationship to each other except opposition.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yep.
Makes sense. So what happens if you have 3 things? Well, they're not in opposition, okay?
Yep.
They're just... You can't have 3-way opposition. That doesn't work. That's physically impossible.
No. Never happens.
It doesn't happen. It's not like that news story I once read about a guy who shot another guy in a devil's threesome because one of the guys was, quote, hogging all the vagina. That's... That story's been living in my head for years, and I've never been able to forget that quote. Somebody who got shot for hogging all the vagina.
Imagine dying or going to prison over that.
Imagine dying over that.
Oh my God.
Anyway, so that's an example which dismantles L.C. Vincent's theory about the harmony of threes.
Hogging all the
threesome shooting over hogging all the vagina. Okay. Deep L.C. Vincent theology. There were 3 people, but there were 2 men, right? The two men were those in conflict, and one man got actually. This doesn't disprove L.C. Vincent's theory. This proves it because the 2 men were in conflict. One was hogging all the vagina, and one of them had a gun. And
so, do you need?
Shot the
is
other
the only
one.
legitimate form of group sex then? Well, the only legitimate form of sex in LC.
So if there were 3 dudes,
but you can't have just a couple. You can't just have a couple because
have
that's 2 people. That's conflict. But you can have 3 dudes and 3 women.
3 dudes.
But then you have 2 genders, and they're going to be in conflict. So do you really need 9 people? You need 3 men, 3 women, and 3 other. And that's the only legitimate.
Or homosexuality. I think if it's just dudes, just women, then
so
it's
a 3-way between 3 people of the same gender, or 3.
It's going to be
genders.
harmonious.
So there's no duality anywhere in. Yeah.
And
then nobody's going to be.
This is an organizational principle to orient your life around. How to avoid conflict by having 3 of exactly the same thing in every situation. So anyway, that was the hogging all the vagina quote, which I still probably think about every week because it's such a ridiculous thing to say.
I'm glad that's taken
actually
up so
conclusively
much,
proves L.C. Vincent's
time in your mind, Jack. Over the years, just every now and then.
It's just stuck in my head forever. So that actually
when you're 9 and
proves
you've got
Vincent's
dementia, you can only remember a few things. You just keep on every day you wake up. It's like Groundhog Day. He's hogging all the vagina, man.
Better shoot him. So anything in 2s causes conflict. Anything in 3s is harmony because you cooperate in 3. The important numerological significance of this is that things divisible by 2, but not by 3 engender conflict. Things divisible by 3 engender harmony. What about odd numbers not divisible by 3?
Like
what
7.
do those do?
Yeah. Or what about even numbers that are also divisible by 3?
Prime numbers just open a portal into chaos.
And what about 12? Like 12 is divisible by both 2 and 3.
Yeah, but those are okay.
They're fine, so
I think
it
those are okay.
overrides.
Because like 432. 432 is divisible by 2 and 3.
That's fine.
Actually, no, fact check that, because I don't know for sure that it is divisible
144.
by 3. LC Vincent says it is.
144 and 260.
Okay, so it is divisible by 3. Okay. Because
do you think that you have to apply the thinking recursively? Do each of its factors have to also be divisible by 3? And therefore, only powers of 3 should be legitimate numbers that A could be tuned to. So what's the closest power of 3?
That is very...
3
that's
to, what do you reckon? 3 to 5? 243? You got 243. 3 to the 5 is 243. But then the problem is then you've got 3 to the 6 is 729. And I've never heard anybody tune to 729, man.
A729 is the devil's tuning.
No, that's the Trinity's tuning. That's 3
so
to the
high
6.
as well.
That's great.
3 to the 6. That's a very powerful number. You got 3 and you've got 6.
But 6 is 2 times 3, so I don't like it. So I want 3 to the 9, which is 3 to the 3 times 3.
No, but it's got 2 and 3 together.
So
I feel like
this is a much purer number,
okay.
Jack. 3 to the 9, which is 3 to the 3 times 3, which is 19,683. So I'm advocating for A19K. That's what we're going with.
A19K, I think is... Yeah,
I like it. It rolls off the tongue. I reckon.
We better write to LC Vincent and let him know that we've found the perfect tuning
it's got
for
that
A.
good K sound. So, it's, like 19K, A19K. Let's go.
Is it above what humans can hear?
Almost certainly.
Max frequency human hearing. Oh, 20,000 hertz. You hear
so
that?
It's
fine.
just within. I mean, it's like
it's just within. It's just within the audible range.
19,863 hertz. So it's barely within. If you're like me, you're a 30-year-old who's listened to way too much music through his AirPods and shit over the course of I probably can't hear it. But if you're like,
the divine
12
frequency.
years old, you haven't destroyed your ears with like drum and bass or whatever, then you can still hear it. You'll be fine.
I think a tuning standard around A equals 19,800 and something hertz is a really good idea. It's a theoretically sound tuning standard.
I like it.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'll get back to the quote now that we've established the numerological significance of A440. It's divisible by 2 but not by 3. So it's innately oppositional. Again, there are a lot of numbers that are divisible by 2 and not by 3. So I'm not sure why he's ascribing special significance to 440
numbers,
as opposed to the literally infinite number of other numbers that are divisible by 2 but not by 3. But I just have to roll with it.
I love numerological conspiracy theories. There's just infinite. You can just do whatever you want with them. Obviously, because there's so many patterns in mathematics.
You can do whatever you want, but you will always arrive at a useful conclusion, like tuning A to.
You'll always arrive at the conclusion that you set off to arrive at when you first started thinking.
Which is the most important thing. It's almost like, so you're manifesting into the universe your desire. And the universe resonates and sends back to you the numbers that you want. There is a unity to all knowledge.
I think 432 does also have like a good... It's punchy. I like it. 432, 432. Bam, bam, bam. It's also like decrements.
It's nice that it's descending.
432. And then your mind wants to go 432, 1. Lift off. Amazing.
And
one is unity.
One is the unity.
432, 1 universe.
It's the vibrating quantum field. The unity of everything.
Ugh. That's around the campfire. 4, 3,
As
2,
one.
1. Everybody at the same time. Let's go. Let's go.
Exactly.
Come on, boys.
So 432, it's not as perfect as 19,800 hertz, but it's good. It's still
Look,
good.
it's a first attempt. This is the beginning of infinity. I think we can help LC level up his game.
So I'll continue the quote after a lengthy but important discursion. Create conflict, discord, and harmony within the minds of whoever may listen to them, while those divisible by 3, signifying balance, polity, reconciliation, harmony, produce symmetry and visually harmonic, pleasing structures. Now imagine that you have the power to establish the tuning standard of all musical instruments throughout the Western world at the same time. Imagine that instead of choosing a specific keystone frequency for tuning all musical instruments throughout the world based on a creative, constructive frequency, a frequency based upon sacred harmonic ratios, you instead choose to base the entire scale of musical artistic creation, a scale which would be used by symphony orchestras and solo artists throughout the Western world, upon a frequency which would skew their vibrations towards propagating destruction rather than constructive, harmonious thought. Imagine too that your wealth would increase due to the subtle yet all-encompassing pernicious effects which this new, standardized tuning would inflict upon all those who heard it. Imagine that as the music based upon this destructive keystone tuning propagated outwards through radio, film, live performance, and ultimately television, what the long-term cumulative effects these destructive frequencies would wreak upon the bodies and minds of humanity. It sounds like science fiction, yet this is exactly what transpired on September of 1939, when an international musical congress based on research conducted by the Rockefeller Illuminati financial interests decided to declare that the standard tuning for the note of A above middle C would henceforth be said to vibrate at precisely 440 cycles per second. This unnatural standard tuning frequency, removed from the symmetry of sacred vibrations and overtones, has produced a war on the cellular structure and subconscious mind of Western man. The destruction and illness this artificial tuning has produced strongly indicates the motivation behind its promotion. Undoubtedly, there are still many who will reject this thesis outright. They would postulate that a Rockefeller-led campaign to purposely inflict discord, harmony, conflict, disease, and death upon the world as rather far-fetched, perhaps even preposterous. Yet the Rockefellers' influence upon our Western world and their curious concern to push and have adapted the universal tuning frequency of 440 Hz equals A has another chilling parallel in the Rockefellers' involvement in the creation of American country music. That's right. American country music created right in New York City. That leads us to my favourite chapter, the country music conspiracy. This is where this book becomes truly great.
I agree. Beyonce's country album sucked. Sucked.
I just want to say that Slim Dusty is the greatest Australian musical sensation.
Nice.
But Slim Dusty turns out to have been part of a Frankfurt School social engineering project to make us stupider and easier to control. So, country music is a psyop. Turns out, Rockefeller grant money, I quote, was instrumental in paving the way for American educator and Rockefeller fellow traveller John Dewey to bring over the entire communist cell known as the Frankfurt School to infect American education from Germany in the early 1930s.
I think like John Dewey has been up to a lot of bad stuff. Hey, right? Like people really like bringing him into things. I'm sure there's another conspiracy theory I was meant to bring up for the show involves John Dewey.
What I'm really interested in though is how one offshoot of the Frankfurt School of Social Engineering was the Princeton Radio Project. They did things like they broadcast Orson Welles' The War of the Worlds, which was actually an experiment to see how the American public would respond to an unexpected alien invasion. Another thing they did, more importantly, was they created country music to make people stupider and easier to control. Now, Theodore Adorno sought to corrupt American values and make successive generations have a loose mentality, in collusion with the Prince Albert Tobacco Company and the National Life and Accident Company. So these people together made country music. They financed the country music station WSM out of Nashville, and WSM Radio became the voice of Nashville in 1925 and was immediately distributed through the USA by NBC Radio, owned by the Rockefellers. And this quote's really good. Lyrics were kept simplistic, and the themes of country songs were kept simple-minded and depressing. Songs were always crafted around a southern, looser mentality, a hangover from the Civil War and Civil War guilt, and revolved around simplistic family themes dealing with mama, papa, brother, sister, babies, dogs, cars, trucks, tractors, farming, and ranching. Lyric lines were obsessed with loser themes of hurtin', cryin', cheatin', lyin', killin', drinkin', gamblin', shootin', and dyin'. I pronounce all those words that way because he didn't spell any of them with the G on the end. The melodies were monotonous and monodic, never polyphonic, and the instrumental accompaniment was kept purposely crude. And country musicians dressed poorly, encouraging Americans to dress poorly. And what did all of this do? Country music made Americans stupider and easy to control. And it's because of Frankfurt School communists in collusion with tobacco companies and life insurers. This was a chapter where the book just became insane. It feels like it was written by an insane person.
Yep. Or maybe the society we live in is insane, Jack. And maybe Elsie.
Well, we do live in an A440
is the only sane one around. All right. Well, how far are we away from? I've got to go and have dinner. We've been talking about this book for like 2 hours.
2 hours.
I should probably request that we begin
How about
to bring
we
this
quickly
baby
run
home.
through some of the things that the Rockefeller Brothers funded because these are really funny. It's a huge list.
He just starts
some of them
listing
are kind of
convenient, all too
he just
convenient.
starts listing them. Yeah. Some of these things, so what are some of the things they did? They sabotaged the Titanic.
True.
Which was carrying with it the three main opponents to the creation of the US Federal Reserve banking system. Because they wanted a Federal Reserve banking system.
Have it, LC Vincent was a Bitcoiner. A proto-Bitcoiner.
The Rockefellers are implicated by proxy in the strange, in quotation marks, suicide of Otto Diesel, whose new diesel engine was originally designed to run on vegetable oil, but patent holders changed the specifications of it to run on petroleum oil, owned by the Rockefellers. Rockefellers implicated by proxy in a curious fire of Nikola Tesla's New York laboratory and research on free energy devices. They funded the Soviet Union. What else did they do? Yeah, they helped fund the League of Nations. There are some of these that are much crazier. Oh yeah, they funded the obscure Women's Christian Temperance Union to push for prohibition and an alcohol-free nation to ensure that gasoline is made the standard means of automotive energy over alcohol. They They funded some mental hygiene project that said that mental illness is based on a link between individual and society, so this should be focused on in schools. They, in collusion with John Dewey, helped sabotage the American educational system. Well, there are some that were just completely insane. War of the Worlds, funding the UN. Oh, the Rockefeller Foundation funds Alfred Kinsley, I quote, homosexual pederast, to provide data for normal sexual behaviour research. Kinsey's research skews the concept of normal sexual behaviour and sexual relations, sexual expression and homosexuality, thereby corrupting honest sexual research of male-female roles for decades afterwards. So they're also responsible for funding big homosexuality.
Big homo.
The thing with this list of things that they did is there'll be like things that seem really minor, and every now and then there'll be one of like, yeah, they funded research that made homosexuality a global phenomenon.
Big homo. Oh no, we've got to go and find some big homo conspiracy theories now, man. I was going to suggest that we do a book on William Randolph Hearst and like all the fucking like stoner conspiracy theories about the paper industry holding back cannabis. But it'd be also good to do a big homo conspiracy theory.
A big homo conspiracy. I quote, the Rockefeller Foundation funds the creation of the World Health Organization, whose research in Africa coincides with the emergence of AIDS in monkeys and humans there. So they
made AIDS.
The Rockefellers invented gay people. They invented AIDS. They're holding the Dead Sea Scrolls and are changing them. They're responsible for the rise of China.
Jeez,
that's a bad
far
one.
out. Oh my god. So they are also going to be responsible for my girlfriend walking off to the restaurant without me if we don't wrap it in a dick. It gave me a 5-minute warning 7 minutes ago. So
okay, let's just have a quick bit about good tunings. A of 417 hertz,
yes,
is good. This is followed by two pictures showing the effects of A440.
Oops. Sorry.
One is a picture from World War I of a soldier crying in a trench, and then there's a picture of Fireball Man, just some cartoon of a guy in a black robe casting fireballs. And then an explanation of how A440 disconnects us from the multiverse. This part of the book is just insane. The spelling is fucked. The pictures are bizarre. He's talking more about international bankers.
Just gaps between things, ending lines early and stuff.
Yeah. The formatting gets really fucked up. Talks about the sun tone, A432 hertz. This is good. Water really likes A432. Starts talking about Dr. Leonard G. Horowitz's Love 538. According to Dr. Horowitz's website, the Journal of Hydrocreationism, he has this really long list of why 538 is a really good number. Like a really long list.
528, right?
Because Levi has to go soon. 538.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I won't read all of it out because it's just a gigantic list.
Highlights. What's a highlight? What's your favorite?
Well, the thing is, I just copied out the entire list because it's just crazy. Like it's okay. So I have 528. Wait, is 538 or 528? No, 528. Sorry, you were right. 528 resolves to 6, the icon for physical manifestation from ether. That is, 5 plus 2 plus 8 equals 15, and 1 plus 5 plus 6, using Pythagorean math. The symbol 6 represents the spiraling down from heaven into the wholeness of earth. And it is actually just a huge list of things like that.
Yeah. It's like, what's that guy? The guy who did Temple OS, you know? Like, he's just like...
Double 444 and you get 888. The name for Jesus according to Greek numerology. Acoustic frequency researchers Estes and Walton determined that a synthesizer tuned to 88.8 makes the room spin as though you have entered an energy vortex from another dimension. Like, when I say it gets insane, it gets more and more insane in terms of him listing why he really likes 528. Anyway, that's basically the end of the book.
It really spirals super hard at the end.
It keeps getting more and more crazy as it goes on. So it is really fun if you can tolerate it to read it in one sitting.
Smoke a doobie in Minecraft and sit there for a couple of hours and just read the book. In Minecraft.
Yeah.
Or in any jurisdiction where it's
in
legal,
terms of
like
woo-woo,
in Tasmania. Smoke weed.
I do prefer this to The Secret because it's more theoretically complete, because he does spend half the book talking about the theory behind vibrations and stuff.
Would we recommend the book? I would. I would. I enjoyed it.
I had a genuinely good time with it. It's very
only
repetitive.
60 pages.
You can skim it.
If it was 600 pages, I'd say
only
no,
60
but it's
pages.
only 60 pages. So yeah, have fun.
If you've got, what is it, Kindle Unlimited, then you can get it for free. I do and I don't recommend it. I really liked it. And take from that what you will. But would I recommend it to a normal person, to a well-adjusted human?
No. Would you recommend it to our audience, Jack? We're not here appealing to everybody. We're not trying to appeal to the mainstream.
Yes, I would recommend
it to our audience. Yes, we fucking would.
Yeah. I can't emphasize enough the feeling of sanity slipping away, because the book starts out woo-woo, but formatted normally. By the end of it, it's like international bankers with the Illuminati axis are demonically corrupting you at a cellular and spiritual level using A440, and it's all just so the Rockefellers can make more money through their investments in big pharma to treat you with antidepressants, and so that they can make money off the world.
They call it big homo money.
And big homo. They funded research into homosexuality to normalize it and to corrupt healthy research into male-female relationships. They've got their hands in everything. And country music, most importantly.
This guy is an example of somebody who I wouldn't like to occupy their subjectivity.
He's a very angry man. For all that he talks about love and loving frequencies, he comes across as a very angry person. So, I both have a lot more I could say about this book, but also I don't know what else I would say. I could give more insane examples of things the Rockefellers have done, or the benefits of various tunings, or just various numbers in the abstract. But people could also read this book for themselves and experience the journey of this guy progressively losing his mind on paper.
It's top right quadrant.
Yeah. Strong top right quadrant energy.
Well,
you should have dinner
and apologize to my. Maybe I need to make sure I don't have anything planned after, like, scheduled within 4 hours of
Well, we can start this earlier.
Yeah, but then it'll be too early in the morning for you. I'll just make sure I don't schedule anything.
No, that's fine. I just wake up really early for it.
After this. Thanks for listening though. That was
thanks
a
for
fun
listening.
episode because it was just a little bit less like intense and some. I would really like to do some stoner conspiracies on William Randolph Hearst. So now that I've been reminded, I think that'd be a good time.
Do that and return to Terence McKenna.
Yeah.
And that infinite novelty theory.
He does have a book on
whatever
the
it's called.
And his numerological theory of like, yeah, we could do that. Shout out to Terry. All right, well, I'm going to jump off. Thanks for listening. You've all been great. Jack's been great. I love you all. Keep on keeping on, and join the bloody Discord.
And tune everything in your life to A 432, or even better, A equals 19,800 and whatever it was. Whatever Levi mathematically derived as the perfect frequency.
And start giving people obscure compliments related to being harmonious, harmonic, 432. I think that would be really good to get that out there into the culture.
Not only that, but to make it a political hot button issue. How you tune.
Let's make it an issue. Let's make it.
These are all things to ponder. Thank you for listening. See you next time.